Nice to see more of you participating. Just wait a couple of moments for everyone else to join in. How are you all doing?
All good.
Fine, Prabhuji. Thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing just fine, thanks.
Prabhuji, after the class, can I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah, I have your WhatsApp details, isn't it? So I can contact you on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Mataji, you're talking about yoga earlier?
Yes, so I do a children's class on Sunday morning.
Right.
And Lanisha, I had invited Lanisha to one of them.
Okay.
So we were just discussing that, and I said, now we are doing yoga also. But I'm in Kenya, so the time is at 11 o'clock here, which is 9 o'clock in London.
Right.
So it is a little bit too early for her. Yes, but we do yogas, and then we are, I have a group of 20 children now.
Okay.
And we are doing the avatars. We are in Ram avatar right now.
Right. Okay, that's good.
If you have children, they are welcome to the group.
They're all grown up now.
Yes,
I mean, I do Art of Living yoga, and I do Ramdev yoga as well.
Oh, very good, Prabhuji. It's good for your lungs.
Definitely,
In
yeah.
this COVID time, it's a good idea.
I mean, we do Kriya twice a week. So.
Okay. You have a group that you do it on?
We do it online at the moment, but we do have a group. Yeah, we got actually 2 groups. So depending on the timing, we do it that way. But at the moment, we're just doing it online. So it's good.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're about ready to begin now. We have several participants who've just joined. So I'll just begin with a quick reading of the reflective reading Good Sadhu Sangha principles, which we read one of every week. So this week I'll read principle number 8. The 8th principle of Good Sadhu Sangha. Try to help our discussion partners develop their own understanding by using empathetic hearing skills. So that's quite a detailed one, isn't it? So how do we help each other in the Sangha? Well, one way is we can just say, that's not right, you know, but that's not the right way of doing it. There are better ways. So one advised here is that we can help our reading partners, our discussion partners, by using empathetic hearing. So trying to understand what it is that they're saying and what motivates them to say something, and align that with what's actually right, what's actually wrong, and also bearing in mind there can be different points of view which can also be correct, but in line with what's correct, how do we guide the person through empathetically understanding any misapplication of the teachings and that type of thing. So does anyone have any questions on that one? That's quite an interesting one, isn't it? Empathetic hearing skills. So it's hearing, but then also responding according to, if you've heard properly, then you'll be able to understand. You'll be able to take on the mood of the person when responding. So, does anyone have any questions or comments on that one? Yes, Kirti Mataji.
Yeah, it's like putting yourself in the other person's shoes. So if you do that, then you'll know where it pinches, and then you know where that person is coming from.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way of putting it. Yeah, putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Yeah, try and understand how the other person is coming to that conclusion by seeing their situation. Yeah. Okay.
I had something to say. Yeah, it's like how do you, just going further on to what Kirtika Mataji said, how could you do that? Because it's not always easy to go into that person's shoes. I mean, you know, if you're somebody who doesn't reflect on stuff like this, then you could easily end up hearing things through your filters. So if you, how to practice such a thing, you could, if you wanted to know more about what they meant, then just ask, what do you mean by that, rather than jumping, like responding or reacting to anything until you actually, because if you find you hear something if you feel you've got something negative from it, then I think it really helps to just sometimes think that a person genuinely has something of interest to say behind it. And so in that case, if you haven't figured it out, just ask, what do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, very important point. So yeah, ask for clarification. So empathetic hearing involves, you know, if you've not understood correctly, then also to seek clarification and better understanding, because you may understand what's being said, but you may not understand why. So that comes from just that clarification and trying to understand the situation better. Yeah. Okay, so I think we can then begin and try and develop this skill as we go along of empathetic hearing. And these kind of forums, these sanghas, they're a wonderful opportunity to develop all of these good qualities, actually. So, you know, everything we do, we have to practice, isn't it? So if we're not good in say, empathetic hearing, for example, then this is one place where we can try and practice that, isn't it? And any other skill that we want to develop in association with devotees. So for those of us who are joining us the first time, we begin the Sangha by chanting the introduction invocation song, which is in the introduction of the Krishna book. So I'll sing that, and if you could kindly put yourselves on mute, you can join in too. Okay. If we're not on mute, then we're going to get a lot of feedback and echo. So so join in, and then we'll start from chapter. What chapter are we on now? 7. And the paragraph is one day shortly after the ceremony. Okay, so you can just prepare yourself there. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Okay, so I hope you've all found the location we're reading from. And who can tell me a little recap in a few sentences on what we covered last week, just for the benefit of those who couldn't join us and to remind the rest of us? So we read about two incidents last week, I think it was. Does anyone remember?
So is it Krishna's first birthday that's getting celebrated? I can't remember really. And Yashoda at some point puts him under a cart, which has the ghost Shukutasura hidden in the cart. He represents laziness. Yeah, he's like 1-year-old around there. He kicks the cart, and at that point, kind of his cheeky lila begins, because the children said, "Oh, Krishna did it," but people don't believe the kids because they're like, how can a 1-year-old push the cart? So yeah. So it's also saying Krishna is powerful in all forms. We did a little bit of talk on Brahmins because it's mentioned quite a lot in this chapter. And one of the Prabhus mentioned about qualified Brahmins, not just any Brahmins. Yeah, those are the main points I can see.
Thank you for starting us off, Preeti. Yeah.
Sorry?
Right. Thank you for starting us off. Anyone else could add to that? That was quite elaborate, actually. It's covering many things that we discussed. Feel free to just speak up. Don't wait for me to have to pick you. I think I remember one more thing as well. We spoke about blessings as well. That was an interesting discussion too, and how we can be in the right mood to receive blessings, and who we can get blessings from. Yeah. So we spoke about that as well. Okay, so we've got some volunteers who've listed their reading order in the chat. So I think we're ready to begin. Okay, with number 1, Jay Prakash Prabhu.
Haribo. One day, shortly after the ceremony, when Mother Yashoda was putting her baby on her lap, the baby felt too heavy, and being unable to carry him, she unwillingly placed him on the ground. After a while, she became engaged in household affairs. At that time, a servant of Kamsa's town in Tranavarta, as instructed by Kamsa, appeared there in the shape of a whirlwind. He picked up the child up on his shoulders and raised a great dust storm all over Vrindavan, covering everyone's eyes. Within a few moments, the whole of Vrindavan became so densely dark that no one could see himself or anyone else. During this great catastrophe, Mother Yashoda could not see her baby, who had been taken away by the whirlwind, and she began to cry very piteously. She fell down on the ground exactly like a cow who has just lost a calf. When Mother Yashoda was so piteously crying, all the cowherd women immediately came and began to look for the baby. But they were disappointed and could not find him. Want me to continue?
So, very dramatic beginning.
Mm.
Lots to read into there, isn't it? So this whole situation starts when Krishna he's feeling too heavy, huh? And then when he's taken away by this demon, then again he feels too heavy for the demon as well, right? And this causes a great anxiety for Mother Yashoda and the Brajbasis. Yeah. Does anyone else want to share any reflections on this?
Yeah, I have something here. It's just one sentence there. She said she fell down on the ground exactly like a cow who has just lost her calf. Just saying that yeah, cows feel it too when their babies you know, go away. It's hard for them as well. Like, you know, a lot of people say they're animals that don't feel anything. So yeah, it's just probably a metaphor here, but yeah.
Yeah, and especially cows. Cows are very emotive animals, you can say. Cows are very emotionally driven compared to some other animals. Of course, all animals experience happiness and pain, but cows are considered particularly emotive. So yeah, it's a nice point you picked up on that.
Prabhuji, I want to ask a question.
Yes.
Does Tranavarta, the Rakshas, does he represent something? Like I just heard the previous Rakshas was laziness.
Yes, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that all of the demons, they all represent different anarthas. So for Trinavarta, I can't actually remember. Let me see. I can just look it up quickly because I never really looked it up before. I think that from memory, Trinivata represents, oh yeah, that's right. Trinivata represents pride, like scholarly pride. Pride which comes from having a lot of knowledge and education. So that's what this anartha. Anartha means that an unwanted quality. So there's nothing wrong with having knowledge and education, but the pride that comes with that, or the thinking that, you know, I'm very great because I have, you know, I know more than someone, or I'm better than someone because I know something. That's an unwanted aspect of knowledge. So Trinivata represents this particular anartha. Does that make sense? Yeah. So in one place it's mentioned how this pastime evolves, because the reason that pastime even begins is because Krishna is feeling very heavy to Mother Yashoda. Okay, so it's not just like, you know, Mother Yashoda, she's an ordinary lady, she has her things to do and she's busy and she's tired. Mother Yashoda is actually a spiritual personality, you know. She's extraordinary. But because of Krishna's mystical potency, he actually has the ability to increase his weight. It's said that there's different kind of siddhis, which the yogis, they practice different kind of siddhis. They can become lighter than the lightest, or heavier than the heaviest, or smaller than the smallest, or larger than the largest, you know. So sometimes it's considered that Hanuman, he had all of these siddhis, you know, and we can see in the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra how Hanuman has all these different siddhis to serve Lord Ram in different situations, you know. So like that, these are like mystic siddhis. So Krishna, of course, is also full of these different siddhis. So he is exhibiting one of these, this becoming heavy power. So he becomes heavy because he wants to begin a pastime. So he actually becomes heavier. It's not Mother Yashoda puts him down, but he becomes actually heavier. And then Mother Yashoda puts him down. So Krishna's thinking, okay, how am I going to have fun with this this power I have? And so the next thing is that Krishna obviously knows that Trinavarta has been sent, so he's using this power in this pastime. And Trinavarta's he has the power to mostly create this kind of illusion of a whirlwind, or kind of create this mystical situation where there's a whirlwind. Actually, he creates a whirlwind with his mystic power. So he's also using this kind of mystic power he's got. And so when Krishna picks him up, he simply, when Trinavarta picks up Krishna, Krishna simply increases his weight and increases his weight, isn't it? So that's what's going on. We'll find out what happens next. If Jay Prakash would like to read on.
The Trinavarta demon went high into the sky with baby Krishna on his shoulder, and the baby assumed such a weight that suddenly he could not go any further, and he had to stop his whirlwind activities. Baby Krishna made himself heavy and began to weigh down the demon. Catching hold of his neck, Trinavarta felt the baby to be as heavy as a big mountain, and he tried to get out of his clutches, but he was unable to do so, and his eyes popped out from their sockets. Crying very fiercely, he fell down to the ground of Vrindavan and died. The demon fell exactly like Tripurasura, who was pierced by the arrow of Lord Shiva. Trinavarta hit a stone slab, and his limbs were smashed. His body became visible to all the inhabitants of Vrindavan.
So that's the end of the Trinavarta demon now. So quite a small, short pastime. And we can see how Krishna, by just increasing his weight and his strength, he finished off Trinavarta. Does anyone else want to add on this section? Yes, please.
Just quickly, if you know, what was the who was Tripasura? What was his pastime with Shiva? Like, why is it mentioned in here?
It's a good point. So there's an example. So many times when we read about the demons, there's examples given of other pastimes that have happened before, just so that we can relate to those as well. And this particular pastime is mentioned in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. After the pastime of Nrsimhadev, Narad Muni tells about the pastime of Tripurasura. So Lord Shiva, he's known as Tripurari, the killer of the Tripura demon. And I'm just trying to look that pastime up because I don't remember it so well. So it's in the 7th canto, chapter 10. Incidentally, I read about this like a few weeks ago myself. I don't know if Bhakti Priya, can you remember the pastime? Just ask my wife because she probably remember it better than me. Because I told her about it when we read it. This was going back a few weeks now. But it's there if you want to read it in the details of the 7th canto and the 10th chapter. It's at the end of that chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. But basically, from what I remember, the demon Tripura, he was defeating. He had the upper hand on Lord Shiva, and then Krishna intervened, or Vishnu intervened, and then empowered Lord Shiva, and then Lord Shiva could defeat him. So it seems like that here also, because Trinivata, he has the upper hand in the beginning, but then Krishna, by his mystic power, he overcomes Trinivata and defeats him also. I found it amusing where it says how Trinivata's eyes popped out, you know. It's kind of comical, right? It just reminds you of those cartoons, you know, when like, you know, one character just squeezes the other one and his eyes just pop out. So it was literally like that, you know. I found that quite amusing. So there's like the strength of Krishna, you know. He could actually do that. It wasn't like a cartoon. He actually did that. He could actually squeeze Trinivata's neck. As you see in the pictures, Krishna is so tiny. He has the power to pinch his neck so much so that it squeezes all his life airs, and his eyes actually pop out. Trinivata's. So, would you like to continue, please, Prabhu?
Yeah. When the gopis saw the demon killed and child Krishna very happily playing on his body, they immediately picked Krishna up with great affection. The cowhead men and women became very happy to get back their beloved child Krishna. At that time, they began to talk about how wonderful it was that the demon had taken away the child to devour him, but could not do so. Instead, he fell down dead. Some of them supported this situation. This is proper because those who are too sinful die from their sinful reactions, and child Krishna is pious. Therefore, he is safe from all kinds of fearful situations. We too must have performed great sacrifices in our previous lives, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, giving great wealth in charity and acting philanthropically for the general welfare of men. Because of such pious activities, the child is safe from all danger.
So here, it's interesting because there are two opinions as to why this all happened. So Krishna is lying there, and Mother Yashoda goes to pick him up. But then there's like a discussion amongst the residents of Vrindavan, the Brajvasis. Yeah. So there's two reasons that they give. What were those two reasons? There's two viewpoints. There's two like camps. One camp says this is the reason why Krishna was saved, and another camp says this is the reason why Krishna is okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Smita Mataji.
Is it because the first reason would be that if the child is pious, saying this is proper because those who are too sinful die from their sinful reactions, and the child Krishna is pious, so therefore he's safe. Is that the first?
That is, yeah. Yeah, so because Trinavata was very sinful and Krishna was more pious, therefore Krishna was okay. Yeah. Thank you. That was the first one. And the second one?
So they say, oh, and also we've like given a lot in charity, and we've performed great sacrifices in our previous lives. So that way, our blessings have kept this whole area safe, like including that child. So they've given themselves a little praise there as well.
Yeah. So they're thinking, like because we're acting according to the Vedas and the principles there, and we're giving charity, and do our good deeds for the day, then this must be the reason why this little baby Krishna has survived. Because they see Krishna as a little baby, right? So they don't actually remember that he's God. They're under this illusion of the spiritual nature, Yogamaya. So by Krishna's mystic potency, they just see him as a little baby so that they can have this close interaction with him. And so every day is like another adventure for them in the spiritual world. So yeah, there's two reasons. So this is interesting, I think, because it's not that in spiritual life we all have to agree necessarily. There can be two reasons for things happening. So this is one nice example of that we can learn from. That actually both is correct. Actually both is factual. That there's no one more pious than the Brajbasis. That's a fact. Because they are so pious, or because they're so pure spiritually, they have such a close relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. In fact, their relationship is so close to Krishna, it's not like a reverence and awe and respect, but they just, very close with him and hug him and kiss him like a small child. And on the other hand, of course, anyone who tries to defame God or to destroy God or his reputation, just, is increasing their sin. So those who had that viewpoint were also correct. So in one sense they were true. They were both true, but then in a higher sense as well, because it's Krishna's pastime, it's all happening. It's only because Krishna wants to play. He wants to play with his mystic power, so he does that by his own will, and everything is just going on because of his own desire, because of his sweet will. So that's another higher level, but they don't see that because they're in the pastime. They're having fun with Krishna in the pastime. Yeah. It's like if you want to watch a movie and then someone tells you, like, this is the end of the movie before you've seen it. It kind of spoils the movie, right? So it's like that. They're kind of in the pastimes with Krishna. They kind of know Krishna is the Supreme Lord in the back of their mind. Just like when you go and see a movie, generally, the expectation is there'll be like a happy end or something, right? But you want to watch the movie and experience it and be part of the, you want to be part of the experience. And so this is how it is with Krishna's pastimes. They're very much engrossed in the pastimes. Does anyone else want to comment or question on that? Otherwise we can continue. Perhaps we can have the next speaker, the next reader.
Just wants to make a comment.
Yeah, sure.
I thought that was a good metaphor. You said like watching a movie, like you get engrossed in it. yeah, and at times you know, you kind of empathize or whatever, you feel that you're there, but you're not really there. You're like, it's just a but yeah, it's just something more to think there on. Like it's a good metaphor regarding just a lot of things. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess it has its limitations as well, because they're actually, so they're in reality, and we are actually living the movie, as you can say, because we're like in the Mahamaya, we're in the illusion. But our illusion is a bit more miserable, and theirs is eternally blissful. So you have to choose which movies you want to go and watch. Hare Krishna. Sorry?
Is that because we are in the material world and they are in the spiritual world, and all these pastimes are happening in the spiritual world? So they are experiencing all the ecstasy.
Yeah, it's all a question of ego. You know, do I have false ego? If I have a false ego, a false identity, then I have to have a false mind, a false intelligence, a false body, false senses, false relationships, everything false in the material world, everything illusion. If you have real identity, real ego, then you really know that you're a servant of Krishna, you have a relationship with him and all his devotees in the spiritual world, and everything manifests there. Satyanarayan Prabhu, would you like to comment?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It could be another reason. Krishna is in a child form, and no one will think that he's a supreme person, right? Supreme personality of Godhead. So by performing these unusual, unlimited pastimes, he's trying to give a message, not directly but indirectly, that he's a supreme personality of Godhead. That's why he could do anything and everything.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point.
Yeah, compare with others, other personalities.
Yeah, so it's like multidimensional. So those who are in the pastime, they're enjoying it. Krishna is enjoying it. Those who are watching the pastime, they're enjoying it. Those who are reading about it or hearing about it.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So Krishna is showing this pastime to the devotees who are present at the time when Krishna's Leela is happening. But also the message is there for us as well, isn't it, Prabhu?
Yeah.
We can also enjoy it. Yeah. So, Kirtika Mataji, would you like to read the next section now?
Okay, Hare Krishna. The gopis assembled there spoke among themselves. What sort of austerities and penances we must have undergone in our previous lives. We must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, offered different kind of sacrifices, made charities, and performed many welfare activities for the public, such as growing banyan trees and excavating wells. As a result of these pious activities, we have got back our child, even though he was supposed to be dead. Now he has come back to enliven his relatives. After observing such wonderful happenings, Nand Maharaj began to think of the words of Vasudev again and again.
So what is that? So they're thinking of their own, pious activities, but what's the emotional reason for that? Why are they like? How is that coming across the emotions? How do they feel about like what just happened?
They think that he's supposed to be dead, but suddenly because of their past good things that they've done in their past life, then he's alive.
Yeah, that's right. And how do they express that? How does that come across to you? Again, maybe this just comes back to a little bit of the empathetic hearing. How do we perceive this? Are they very proud that, you know, oh, we're so you know, we're so pious and we're so good? Well, how does it come across? Maybe it's not that way, but how?
Yeah, they must be. Sorry.
Konika Mataji.
I was just thinking they must be feeling lucky that because of their previous deeds that they've done, that they feel humbled and lucky that Krishna is alive.
Yeah, they feel very fortunate or very lucky. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, they think. They don't think that Krishna has saved himself, but they think they have saved Krishna by thinking that Krishna is just a normal or ordinary child. You know that.
Yeah, they're completely like caught up in this whole,
Yeah.
you know, thing. Like, oh, did we plant the trees, or what did we do? You know, did we make a well? They're thinking all the things that they did. Wow, it can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything
So
else?
because of their pious activities, you know. Krishna is saved.
So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, how is it? Jnanam apohanam cha. How is that verse? Smriti jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna is the source of remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Krishna is kind of putting them in this situation where they're thinking about all the things that they've done and so on. Well, in a spiritual level, he's also the source of their remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. Yeah.
And that way, Krishna want to see them very happy, you know. And,
yeah. Very natural, isn't it?
Yeah, it's natural.
Yeah. Very nice point. Kitika Mataji, did you want to add anything you were going to say?
I was just going to say that Nand Maharaj began to think of the words Vasudev said again and again. So, which words were they?
Does anyone remember? Going back a few chapters, or maybe it was just a couple of chapters back.
Vasudev said that you should quickly go back to Vrindavan because something will probably happen to Krishna very soon. Yeah, that's what Vasudev said.
Thank you, Lanisha. Yeah, that's what I remember as well. One more, what was it? Adjective, descriptive word, adjective, isn't it? I could think of is they were like astonished as well. The gopis, when they thought, we must have, you know, what austerities and penances we must have undergone in our previous lives! Exclamation mark. It's like they were kind of astonished, you know, that we did, you know, in a humble way as well, you know, that, you know, did we really do all these good things that, you know, because they know, in one sense, they know that if you behave properly and you act piously, then, you know, you will have a favorable situation in the world. They know that, but at the same time, they're humble in that they think, did we really, you know, did all these wonderful things to such an extent? Even if a child in our village gets taken away by a huge monster, then monster will die, you know. That's kind of like what they were thinking. That's what, I mean, how it came across to me, that this kind of astonishment was there, like they couldn't believe it because they had no other you know, no other kind of way of thinking outside of that, you know. It was just, that's all they could think, like, wow. So astonished. Okay, Mataji, would you like to read on?
Hare Krishna. After this incident, when Yashoda once was nursing her child and patting him with great affection, these there streamed a profuse supply of milk from her breasts, and when she opened the mouth of the child with her fingers, she suddenly saw the universal manifestation within his mouth. She saw within the mouth of Krishna the whole sky, including the luminaire stars in all directions, the sun, moon, fire, air, seas, islands, mountains, rivers, forests, and all the other movable and immovable entities. Upon seeing this, Mother Yashoda's heart began to throb, and she murmured within herself, "How wonderful this is!" She could not express anything, but simply closed her eyes. She was absorbed in the wonderful thoughts, Krishna showing the universal form of Supreme Personality of Godhead, even when the lying down on the lap of his mother, proves that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether he's manifested as a child on the lap of his mother or a charioteer on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Shall I finish this paragraph, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
The concoction of the impersonalist that one can become God by meditation or by some artificial material activities is herewith declared false. God is always God in any condition or status, and the living entities are always the part and parcels of the Supreme Lord. They can never be equal to the inconceivable supernatural powers of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the 7th chapter of Krishna, Salvation of Trinavarta.
Okay. So how did this make you feel? What was your kind of response on reading about this particular incident with Mother Yashoda? So Krishna has shown, what's just happened? Krishna has shown the universal form in his mouth. Is that right? He opened his mouth to drink the milk. And when Mother Yashoda saw inside the mouth, what did she see? The entire universe. So what does that make you think of this pastime? Or what do you think of that? How do you feel after reading that?
Mother Yasoda, after that incident, she closed her eyes. So I understand whether at that time she's thinking, was it a dream or is it a real thing, you know? I mean, just for a moment, I'm not saying in total.
Yeah, she was, I think the word used is, but in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, he uses the word stunned. Huh?
Yeah.
She's like stunned. Huh? So first they were like, when they saw everything happen and they found Krishna, they were amazed. But now she's like becoming stunned. It's like, can't even move, frozen. So how does that make you feel as a reader, as someone who's trying to become Krishna conscious, trying to attach yourself to Krishna? How does it make you feel? Yes, please, Mataji.
It makes me feel how wonderful. I mean, Krishna has revealed himself to Mother Yashoda. So to a true devotee, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he can reveal himself to a true devotee.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. There's no right or wrong answer, of course. We all feel differently when we read this. So thank you, Mataji, for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's also like the source of all sources. That shows you that even all the universes are controlled by Krishna.
That's right. Yeah. So Krishna is the source of everything. So, so for this proud Trinavarta, you know, who represents the pride of knowledge, you know, but Krishna is the source of that knowledge. We have to acknowledge Krishna as well, isn't it? And Krishna is the source of that knowledge as well. So no reason to be proud. If Krishna gifts you something, he gives you knowledge or wealth or mystic power, whatever it may be. Yeah. To know that Krishna is the source, that's a nice reflection. Thank you. Krishna is the source of everything in the universe. It's within his mouth even, and also outside of him.
Prabhu, I just have a quick question. Isn't it that Krishna showed that he has the whole universe in his mouth to Mother Yashoda when he was eating dirt?
Okay. Which brings us to the next chapter.
Oh.
Titled?
Okay. Thank you.
Getting there, yeah. Vision of the universal form. So Mother Yashoda sees that form twice. And who else sees that form, as is mentioned here?
Arjuna.
Yeah? Kirtika Mataji?
Arjuna sees it at the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Yeah, that's right. And what was Arjuna's experience?
It was awe and reverence, and he was a little fearful as well, scared. So he asked him to come back to a two-handed form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So I was thinking he is also quite shocked, isn't it? You know? Right.
Flabbergasted.
Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it? How Krishna, he very much like, how do you say, he pulls the emotions from his devotees. He draws out different feelings and emotions. Huh? Sometimes when we try to explain like spiritual life, spirituality to people who don't have this Krishna consciousness, they seem to think that it's just, you know, like a plateau of just, you know, you know, just all oneness and just, you know, peace, and that's all, you know, and then get bored of that and you got to go and find some passionate thing to involve yourself in, you know. But is that really the case? Is that really spiritual life? Is that all it is? Just Om. Yeah. What do you think?
No, sorry, Prabhu, can I say something?
Sure.
So I think, no, that's not the case, because I think you taught us in the other class that all the emotions that exist on this life, in the material life, apart from envy, they exist also on the spiritual life, on the spiritual platform. So the gopis, they also go through jealousy to gain their attention for Krishna. So there's motherhood, there's attachment. So all the other, there's anger. Mother Yashoda wants to tie up Krishna because she's just so frustrated with them. And so there's the concern, because, you know, when the cowherd boys go missing, their parents initially, they were concerned. So all the other emotions, they do exist on the spiritual world. So all of them. So spiritual world is not just saying Om. So there's a variety of different rasas or experiences of life that can equally be enjoyed in the spiritual life. But the only difference is that because it's spiritual, they are all done entirely for Krishna. Whereas on the material world, it is very much contaminated with material energy, which does not exist at the spiritual level. And also the other thing which I found really interesting in all the discussions going around the Vishwaroop is that Mother Yashoda also sees the Vishwaroop a few years later when Krishna has dirt from the ground, and Mother Yashoda wants to take that out, and the Balaram and the other cowherd boys, they complain to Mother Yashoda. So out of concern, she wants to take it out, and then Krishna opens his mouth, and she sees it again, and she faints at the time. But Krishna shows him his Vishwaroop as a baby. But we see that that single thread of Yoga Maya running throughout, so she forgets it again. And so when she sees it the second time, within a few years, she is overwhelmed with the experience. So I just found that quite fascinating.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, so Linisha touched upon that as well earlier. And then we're going to go into that next chapter now. Okay. So who is reading? Maybe we can have our next reader now.
I just have a point to make for Prabhu. Something
Oh yeah, go ahead, sorry.
up there. So towards the end of that paragraph, you got that feeling where Krishna is complete. Just because he looks like a baby doesn't mean the universe is not there. He's like, it's present in him too. So I think that was said somewhere.
I didn't hear you quite so well. I think it cut out for
sorry.
me a little bit.
Sorry,
So
I was just
bit again?
thinking whether he's manifested as a child on the lap of his mother or as a charioteer. It's just like saying he just proves that he is the supreme personality of Godhead. He always is. I mean, he looks like a baby, but then he's complete because he opens his mouth and the universe is there. So everything's within him, and he's that phrase, I've forgotten how it goes, but yeah, part of it is everything's within him and he's within it.
Yeah, it's a very nice point. That phrase, do you mean like he's absolute? Krishna's absolute. He's complete within, he's complete without, he's complete inside and out.
Yeah. When I think of that kind of phrase, like everything's within him, and then there's a little, I think it's vice versa or something like that. But when this kind of leela happens, especially when he opens his mouth, it's like, okay, that it's only when this leela happens that I can be like, yeah, it makes sense, that kind of thing. Right? Yeah. It's a good time to use that phrase for this leela. There was something I wanted to say. What happened with Mother Yashoda there? Like we hear that the next one coming up is he's eating mud, and I've just heard that she faints, or I've seen that. But this first time when she sees the universe within his mouth, does she think she's dreaming or something? I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, it says her heart throbbed and like she closed her eyes and absorbed in thoughts, but I'm not sure exactly what she thought of that, other than what it just says here, how wonderful this is. Like, did nothing else happen? Like, what on earth's going on? Like, yeah, what was all that about? There was no other further like fearful reaction. Like, yeah.
No, so I think it's literally that she's just stunned. It's perhaps the best word to use, that she's stunned. It's like it's just too much beyond her, to respond. She can't even respond, And so when we're talking about emotions earlier, she's experiencing very high level of spiritual emotions. He said that the Ashta Sattvika Bhavas, there's 8 degrees of transcendental ecstasy. So when Krishna does something which is just completely extraordinary, it just for the pure devotee, it just goes, the levels of bhav, or the devotion, it just goes flying up. Satyanarayana Prabhu, would you like to say?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about wonderful thoughts. Yeah, wonderful thoughts. One way, I mean, it's like two sides of the coin. One where she was so happy seeing her little child is great. And same time, she may has little fear losing the relationship she has with Krishna, because she always wanted to see Krishna is like an ordinary normal child, and she wanted to serve him as her own child, you know.
So Krishna had a fear, not Mata Yashoda.
Now, Mother Yasoda.
So she felt fearful because she saw the world in his mouth. Huh?
Yes, because he didn't want to lose relationship with Krishna, because when he does one unusual great thing, you know.
Yeah, that's a very nice point, Prabhu.
Yeah, because she likes to see him as just a normal child and serve him, that's it. And she may be thinking, what is next, you know.
Yes, because actually bhakti isn't just about knowing Krishna.
No.
Bhakti isn't just knowledge that this is Krishna.
Yeah.
Bhakti is really, what is my relationship with Krishna?
That's right. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, very nice point. So, so that's her consideration, that if Krishna is being like this, then where does it put me in the picture? There's that kind of fear. Huh?
Yeah.
So that's called Sri Krishna Karshani, I think it's called. You know, Krishna is mine. All the pure devotees, they have this idea, this notion that Krishna is mine. He's my Krishna.
That's right.
Everyone thinks they have a special relationship with Krishna. Every pure devotee. So that's the special thing about Krishna, that he makes everyone feel very special. Huh? They think that Krishna is so wonderful, and then I have such a special relationship with him. And then when Krishna does something like this, then it's like there's actual fear that, you know, where's my relationship with Krishna when he does this? How am I being his mother? So,
yeah,
very nice point, bro.
Yeah, it's like Radharaj Swami time to time says you should develop that relationship with Krishna, and you should think that, oh, Krishna, you are mine and I'm yours.
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually the high levels of bhakti, when one has because first thing is we have to have a relationship with Krishna, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then bhakti begins when we try to establish that relationship, that connection with Krishna.
Yeah.
And then when we have that, that becomes our everything.
Yeah.
So we don't want to give that away. So Mother Yashoda, she's very much attached to that relationship which she has with Krishna.
And what it means, that relationship, I mean, with that relationship, nothing is greater than that relationship, you know.
Yeah, that's everything for Mother Yashoda.
Everything.
More important than her own life is Krishna. Yeah.
Then you don't have interest in any other things, relationship-wise.
Actually, in many situations, Krishna puts Mother Yashoda in fear and anxiety. Huh?
Yeah.
Because that's the mood of a mother, you know, they're always concerned about the welfare of the child. So yeah. her position is always, as we will see in many pastimes, it happens again and again. She just becomes stunned or afraid, but not like how we in the material world feel that. But it's like such an ecstatic thing. Huh?
Yeah, it's all transcendental, isn't it?
Yeah. So when she feels afraid, when we think of afraid, it's not like how she feels afraid. No. She feels afraid in like just another level of ecstasy, another level of bliss, a fearful kind of bliss which we cannot even explain. So why Krishna does all these pastimes is because he wants to increase the attachment. He wants to, as it says here in this chapter, that so many times it's mentioned that they have great affection for Krishna, or they considered like Krishna to be, all of the residents of Vrindavan, they consider Krishna to be theirs. because and then Krishna does something like this. He does a pastime where he's taken away. Then they just think, oh my Krishna, you know. They think they have increased their attachment to him. They want to have more closeness with him again, isn't it?
Also, he engages his pure devotees in a transcendental pastimes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's engaging them all in this pastime, so they're all having those feelings, those bhavas.
Yeah.
So spiritual life definitely is far from being static, just, you know, a plateau. It's ecstatic. It's like waves, waves of devotion.
Yeah, even in Vrindavan, the gopis, when they were with Krishna, they would all fight against each other. Like they would argue, oh no, Krishna's looking at me. No, the other one would say, no, Krishna's looking at me. Like that. They would say to each other.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how much love they have for Krishna.
So who's Krishna looking at then? We'll have to find out when we get there. So now we're a little short on time, and I'd like to give who was the next reader? Lunisha, did you read already, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's I'm going
You want to
to.
read now?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Chapter 8. The Vision of the Universal Form. After this incident, Vasudev asked his family priest, Garga Muni, to visit the place of Nanda Maharaj in order to astrologically calculate the future life of Krishna. Garga Muni was a great saintly sage who had undergone many austerities and penances and been appointed priest of the Yadu dynasty. When Garga Muni arrived at the house of Nanda Maharaj was very much pleased to see him and immediately stood up with folded hands and offered his respectful obeisances. He received Garga Muni with the feeling of one who is worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He offered him a nice sitting place, and when he sat down, Nanda Maharaj offered him a warm reception. Addressing him very politely, he said, "My dear Brahmana, your appearance in our householder's place is only to enlighten. We are always engaged in household duties and are forgetting our real duty of self-realization. Your coming to our house is to give us some enlightenment about spiritual life. You have no other purpose in visiting householders. Actually, a saintly person or a Brahmana has no business visiting householders who are always busy in the matter of dollars and cents. The only reason saintly persons go and Brahmanas go to the place of a householder is to enlighten him. If it is asked, why don't the householders go to a saintly person or a Brahmana for enlightenment? The answer is that householders are very poor-hearted. Generally, householders think that engaging in family affairs is their prime duty and that self-realization or enlightenment in spiritual knowledge is secondary. As if compassion only, saintly persons and Brahmanas go to householders' homes.
Okay. So a very instructive section here now. Anyone share something on this point? Yes, please, Preeti.
Reading this paragraph, it comes to mind with people like, have home programs, like devotee association, but even when you hear other devotees say, oh, like so-and-so Maharaj or somebody else is coming, would you like to have them over? It's a brilliant opportunity that, again, just going by what it says here, okay, they bless the house, which is great, because your home won't get blessed because it can't come with you to the temple or where the sannyasi is. But yeah, that kind of bhav, that kind of etiquette of like a sannyasi or like devotees coming to your ashram is a nice thing, a good thing, inviting them.
Yeah, extremely beneficial, huh? So yeah, definitely take up the opportunity when lockdown is over. And you can have people at home and have programs once again. Yeah. Okay. I guess these times it makes us, really have that gratitude when the opportunity is there, isn't it? So we don't take it for granted. Huh? Which is why it's nice to have these kind of forums, isn't it? So, we have the blessings of Madhvi Mataji, Satyanarayan Prabhu visiting our homes.
Don't know if we
Anyone
are
else?
qualified for that or not.
Yes, I'd like to share something. It's about spiritual benefit you never lose, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita as well. Whatever spiritual advancement you make, you never lose. Like in my childhood, I used to serve sannyasis in the temple as well as in my father's house. And then after I left the school, I had to go to university. So that's detachment from that service, detached from that service. And after university study, I went to Africa and then came over here. Nothing was happening regarding that kind of service. But since I joined ISKCON, sannyasis were coming to our house and staying. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, very fortunate. Yeah, so you can see the how these blessings, they really drive one in spiritual life. How they really push one forward.
Even after a long break, many years break, and then I got that service back again.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Prabhu.
Yeah.
So I said that householders, quite a poignant sentence. Householders are very poor-hearted. Huh?
Mm.
We don't take those endeavors to go to see the sannyasi always. So then what? The saintly people, they want to come. They want to come out. They're already very comfortable. They don't have any problem. But they want to come out and give. That means it's not that they're poor-hearted. They're very broad-hearted. Huh? They're very big-hearted. And there's probably no better example than our own Srila Prabhupada, who was well situated in Vrindavan, but he left it all behind. Not to go to just some householder, but to go across the world on his own in his old age and sit down in a freezing cold park in New York with his just pair of cartels. And, after his typewriter had been stolen and so many 2 heart attacks, so many difficulties. How magnanimous Srila Prabhupada is to do that, to create a whole international society. So he left his home so that we could have a home to live in practically. He made a house the whole world can live in. Because one astrologer predicted this about Srila Prabhupada. They foretold that this man will make a house the whole world can live in. This is like another level altogether. So this was Srila Prabhupada. So I was thinking about that when I read that sentence there. Okay, Linisha, would you like to continue?
Okay, Prabhu. Narada Muni addressed Garga Muni as one of the great authorities. Nanda Maharaj addressed Garga Muni as one of the great authorities in astrological science. The foretellings of astrological science, such as the occurrence of solar or lunar eclipse, are wonderful calculations, and by this particular science, a person can understand the future very clearly. Garga Muni was proficient in this knowledge. By this knowledge, One can also understand what his previous activities were that are causing him to enjoy or suffer in this life.
Anyone have any thoughts? Otherwise, we can continue. I had once, Srila Prabhupada has different perspectives of astrology depending on situation. One sentence I heard or read about summed it up quite nicely for me. So someone asked Srila Prabhupada, do we need astrology? As many times in different situations they had asked him. This particular situation, Srila Prabhupada said, is like the weather forecaster. If it's raining outside, then you should take an umbrella. So he said, so you don't need to know. You could take your umbrella anyway, and you'll get by, or you could not take your umbrella, and still you'll get by. But if you need to know, then the weather forecaster will tell you it's going to rain, and it's just as useful as that, and not any more than that. So that was Srila Prabhupada's comment.
Nanda Maharaj also addressed Gargamuni as the best of Brahmanas. A Brahmana is one who is expert in the knowledge of the Supreme. Without knowledge of the Supreme Absolute, one cannot be recognized as a Brahmana. The exact word used in the connection is Brahma Vidam, which means those who know the Supreme very well. An expert Brahmana is able to give reformatory facilities to the sub-castes, namely the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. The Shudras observe no reformatory performances. The Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master or priest for the Kshatriya and Vaishya. Nanda Maharaj happened to be a Vaishya, and he accepted Gargamuni as a first-class Brahmana. He therefore offered his two foster sons, namely Krishna and Balaram, to him to purify. Nanda stated that not only these boys, but all humans, being just after birth, should accept a qualified Brahmana as a spiritual master.
I think someone last week asked a question for the definition of a Brahmana.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of responses on that. So I just think that there's a nice definition here which Srila Prabhupada is giving us. So he's answered your prayers. So did anyone catch what that definition is? Just to reflect on that. Anyone see that?
People that say it's one who is expert in the knowledge of the Supreme.
One who is, sorry, I couldn't hear. Anyone else? Or who is that? Sorry, I didn't hear.
I think there was a Sham Vallabha, and she said Brahman is one who is expert in the knowledge of the Supreme.
Yeah. That's yeah, you can say it in that way, yeah. So someone who's expert in the knowledge of the Supreme.
Prabhu, can I just ask another question, if that's okay?
Yeah, of course.
So, so there are two things. So, is there the difference between what you mentioned the other day as one very similar to what has been said now, one who knows about the Supreme. So, what is the difference between the Brahman and the Brahman, which is part of the original Krishna?
What is the difference between Brahman and
Brahman? So the original Krishna, who has three layers to his original form, the Nirakara, the state, and then Paramatma and the Brahman, which is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita towards the end, which he taught us. And then the Brahman with a D in the end. So is that does the D with the word with the D in the end, is that the entire world, or the entire universe, or all the universes together? Which one is it? Which does it pertain to one universe, or all the universes created by the Lord? Because it is quite different to the Brahman, which is different, which is a completely different thing.
Understood. Okay, so you're asking about these two definitions, these two different words. Okay, so you're asking about what is Brahman with a long A, Brahman, and then there's another word which is similar but it has a very different meaning, is Brahmanda. Yeah. And this word which is Brahmana, this Brahmana refers to one who knows the, as it said here, who knows the Supreme. So this is in relation to the Brahman, because Krishna is Para Brahman. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's in relation to that, someone who knows the Supreme. Either they know the Supreme impersonally, or they know the Supreme personally.
Okay.
So that one is Brahman.
Okay.
The other term, Brahmanda, is referring to a universe. It's like they have that verse, Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavana Ji Krishna, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. So that in that context, Brahmanda means a universe. It's like an egg-shaped. Each universe which comes from Mahavishnu, the pores of Mahavishnu, they emanate. The universes emanate from him, and those universes, they're called. Each one of them are called Brahmanda. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I understand. Yeah. Thank you.
Just ask.
Sorry, I think that was a bit of a tangent, wasn't it? Apologies to everyone and to you.
Not a problem at all. Grateful for your question. Just want to ask if Satyanarayana Madhavi Mataji, if that's okay. This explanation is okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question, Prabhu. What does it mean by an expert Brahmana is able to give reformatory facilities to the subcaste, namely the Shastras and Vaishyas?
Good question. So reformatory facility, what it's referring to is what we call the samskars. There's generally I think 10 samskars that one has to undergo in life, or 10 how do you say, purifications, stages of life which have purification. So the name giving, the namkaran, is one of those stages of life. Many of them happen in youth, actually. Most of them happen in the youth. And so it's in the Vedic culture, it's considered that a Brahmin would normally perform these ceremonies for purification, or in other words, reformation. You can use either term. You can use purification or reformation. So they're providing that facility, they're providing that service. Yeah. It's like if you go to a dentist, you get a dental service, isn't it? So you go to a Brahmin, you get a Brahminical service. So they give you a purificationary ceremony. So this is, Garga Muni has come to the house of Nanda Maharaj to give that name-giving ceremony to Krishna. So at this point, actually, Krishna, according to one of the readings of the Acharyas, Krishna is 100 days old. Well, he's just over 3 months. So the name-giving ceremony can happen at 3 months. Up to 3 months, the name-giving ceremony. That's why Garga Muni has come. Okay. Just thinking we have 10 minutes. So
To follow up
our final reader.
I just had something. Why is it they said the Sudras, was it? The Sudras observe no reformatory performances, why can't they do bhakti, have that? They can do bhakti, like in whatever duty they've been given.
Yeah.
Or just even think of God,
Yeah. That's a good question. It's not necessarily that they can't do it, or they won't do it. So they generally don't. They just generally don't do it. They just generally don't. They just don't take up the purificatory processes. That's all it is. It's like a matter of, if they do the processes, then they can become purified. They can take a level higher than Shudra. But because they don't do it, then they remain on that level because they haven't gone through the purification processes. So like there's a statement in the Shastra, Kalo Shudra Sambhava, that everyone is born the same in one sense. Everyone is born as Shudra. Everyone is born without any qualification. But those who perform the purificatory processes, they can elevate themselves to higher status of material life. Yeah, they can elevate themselves to a higher consciousness of material life. So if they don't do that, then they remain like on the same level of material life. Yeah. That's all it is. That's what I understood. So, Priti, would you like to read from here on, just because we've not got so long now? Just trying to get everyone a chance to read.
Upon this request, Gargamuni replied, Vasudev has sent me to see to the reformatory performances of these boys, especially Krishna's. But if I do it, it may incidentally appear that Krishna is the son of Devaki, since I am Vasudev's family priest. By his astrological calculation, Gargamuni could understand that Krishna was the son of Devaki, which Nand did not know. Indirectly, Gargamuni said that Krishna and Balaram are both sons of Vasudev. Balaram was known as the son of Vasudev because his mother, Rohini, was present there. But Nand Maharaj did not know about Krishna. Gargamuni indirectly disclosed the fact that Krishna was the son of Devaki. Gargamuni also warned Nand Maharaj that if he would perform the reformatory ceremony, then Kams, who was naturally very sinful, would understand that Krishna was the son of Devaki and Vasudev. According to astrological calculation, Devaki could not have a female child, although everyone thought that the 8th child of Devaki was female. In this way, Gargamuni intimated to Nand Maharaj that the female child was born of Yashoda, and that Krishna was born of Devaki, and they were exchanged. Also, the female child, Durga, had informed Kams that the child who would kill him was already born somewhere else. Gargamuni stated, if I give your child a name, and if he fulfills the prophecy of the female child to Kams, then it may be that the sinful demon will come and kill this child also after the name-giving ceremony. But I do not want calamities.
Okay, thank you for reading. So there's a big secret here. There's a conspiracy, intrigue, isn't it?
Yep.
So what's happening? There's a secret. What is it?
What did you do last time?
So there's a couple of secrets disclosed here, isn't it? Did anyone catch what that was?
That Krishna is the child of Devaki and Vasudeva.
Yes, that's right.
Also that Devaki could not have a female child, even though the 8th child of Devaki was female?
Yes, that's another point that's come up. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
And that Krishna and Balram were Vasudev's sons, both of
Yeah.
them.
Mhm. And so because of that, this ceremony is happening in secret also. Yeah. So this ceremony, normally, the Namkaran ceremony is supposed to be a big festival. So Krishna's already had so many festivals in his life. He's had observed so many ceremonies. His birth festival, which we read about, and Krishna was all the residents, they came and they were throwing butter and yogurt and ghee at each other and having a wonderful time. Then we read about the Uttan festival where Krishna turned over, and then in that festival they bathed Krishna with all the purifying elements. Yeah, and so this is another festival. It's supposed to be done in a great ceremonial way, but it's actually being done in secret. Yeah. Because first of all, because Garga Muni, he isn't the family priest of Nanda Maharaj. Whose family priest is he?
Yadu dynasty.
Yeah, specifically he's Vasudev's family priest. Yeah, that's right. So nobody should know that someone else's family priest has come to this house to do a ceremony. Especially Kamsa shouldn't know, isn't it? And then when he comes, he also reveals something to Nanda and Yashoda. So he reveals that actually their daughter was swapped for a son. So they didn't know that because Nanda Maharaj. So because Vasudev came at night time, Krishna was born at midnight to Devaki, and so some hours after that, Vasudev came to the house of Nanda Maharaj and he swapped the babies, isn't it? And then he went back. So nobody knew until this point that Krishna wasn't the son of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Everyone thought that he was their son. But now, in secret, Garga Muni has told them that actually Krishna is the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Yeah, so you are the foster parents. So he's revealed that to them.
Even
they have a female child. Because they believed that Garga Muni just came like that. They didn't know why he came, so they received him like a guest. But then actually he came to do this ceremony, and he's told them now that you have a daughter who is gone now, and Krishna's come in place of in exchange of the daughter. So okay, Prabhu, did you want to add anything? Or anybody else? Okay, so it's at 9 o'clock now, so we can finish here. So it's interesting because we are just getting into this pastime now. We're kind of stopping at a place where he's just come and he's performed a ceremony. So we're going to hear about what his predictions and his understanding of Krishna is. Yeah, in the next week. So thanks everyone for participating. Nice to have so much discussion and learn about the ins and outs of Krishna Leela. Okay, see you all next week. Wish you all the best. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Hare
Like to
everybody.
Krishna.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna, everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.
Krishna, bye bye.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hey.